Question 1. When Jamal notices that students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A. Classical conditioning. Option B. Metacognition. Option C. Constructivism. Option D. Operant conditioning. The correct answer is option A. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Metacognition is not the best choice because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism is different because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. During a practice test workshop, Jamal studies a case where a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which term fits best? Option A. Negative reinforcement. Option B. Extinction. Option C. Positive reinforcement. Option D. Punishment. The correct answer is option C. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Extinction is different because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Punishment does not fit because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Question 3. In a tutoring table, Jamal asks why students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which answer names the idea? Option A. Response cost. Option B. Classical conditioning. Option C. Positive reinforcement. Option D. Negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option D. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Classical conditioning is different because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Question 4. After reading that a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases, how should Jamal label the concept? Option A. Positive punishment. Option B. Positive reinforcement. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Shaping. The correct answer is option A. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping does not fit because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Question 5. For a short exam review, Jamal connects a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy student gradually speaks louder in class with which principle? Option A. Shaping. Option B. Extinction. Option C. Reciprocal teaching. Option D. Fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Reciprocal teaching is different because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Question 6. Could a case where a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away be an example of which concept for Jamal? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Modeling. Option C. Punishment. Option D. Spaced practice. The correct answer is option A. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Modeling is not the best choice because it involves learning by watching others. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. Why would Jamal link a student keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses to one major educational psychology idea? Option A. Fixed ratio schedule. Option B. Variable ratio schedule. Option C. Fixed interval schedule. Option D. Variable interval schedule. The correct answer is option B. Variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. A practice item tells Jamal that students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which concept is most likely? Option A, fixed interval schedule. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, token economy. Option D, variable ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on a set number of responses. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Variable ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Question 9. Before answering, Jamal identifies that a child copies a classmate's polite hand-raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which term should be chosen? Option A, trial and error learning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, the observational learning. Option D, insight learning. The correct answer is option C, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Trial and error learning is not the best choice because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Insight learning does not fit because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Question 10. Which choice helps Jamal explain why a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems in a student coaching session? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, external locus of control. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option C, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control is different because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept does not fit because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific competence. Question 11. How can Jamal classify a classroom moment where a student's competence, learning behavior, and teacher response all influence one another? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, reciprocal determinism. Option C, maturation. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares scores to other test takers. Maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning does not fit because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Question 12. Suppose Jamal observes that a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve. Which concept is shown? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, standardization. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option A, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 13. While reviewing, Jamal sees a student can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, formal operational stage. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, reliability. Option D, zone of proximal development. The correct answer is option D, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Formal operational stage is not the best choice because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Question 14. One interesting clue says a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which educational psychology term fits for Jamal? Option A, conservation. Option B, accommodation. Option C, assimilation. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option C, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Conservation is not the best choice because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Accommodation is different because it changes the schema to fit new information. Encoding does not fit because it is getting information into memory. Question 15. From this example, where a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses, which answer should Jamal select? Option A, accommodation. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, assimilation. Option D, class inclusion. The correct answer is option A, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Rehearsal is not the best choice because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation is different because it would force new information into an old schema. Class inclusion does not fit because it involves understanding category relationships. Question 16. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, sensoromotor thinking. Option B, preoperational thinking. Option C, formal operational thinking. Option D, concrete operational thinking. The correct answer is option D, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Sensoromotor thinking is not the best choice because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Preoperational thinking is different because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Formal operational thinking does not fit because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Question 17. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why a team reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples. Which principle applies? Option A, preoperational thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, formal operational thinking. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option C, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of the stage. Preoperational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Concrete operational thinking is different because it works best with tangible examples. Object permanence does not fit because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Question 18. Can Jamal treat an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared as evidence of which concept? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, conservation. Option C, object permanence. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option C, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Conservation is different because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. If Jamal must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and learning skills? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, trust versus mistrust. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, generativity versus stagnation. The correct answer is option C, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation does not fit because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Question 20. Rather than guessing, Jamal should connect a teenager explores values, careers and beliefs to answer who they are with which concept. Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, identity versus role confusion. Option D, intimacy versus isolation. The correct answer is option C, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Industry versus inferiority is not the best choice because it focuses on school-age competence. Autonomy versus shame is different because it describes toddlers building independence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. Curiosity rises when Jamal reads that a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, moral realism. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option A, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Moral realism is different because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Question 22. A CLEP-style scenario says a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which answer best captures it for Jamal? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, identity achievement. The correct answer is option A, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Conventional morality is not the best choice because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. Inside a learning lab, Jamal studies why a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which concept fits? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, learned helplessness. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Learned helplessness is different because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality does not fit because it generally supports rules and social order. Question 24. Looking at the clue that a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design, which idea should Jamal remember? Option A, G factor. Option B, norm reference testing. Option C, working memory. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option D, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. G factor is not the best choice because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Norm reference testing is different because it compares learners to a group. Working memory does not fit because it is a limited mental workspace. Question 25. Jamal sees that an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, criterion reference testing. Option B, triarchic intelligence. Option C, multiple intelligences. Option D, fluid intelligence. The correct answer is option B, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Criterion reference testing is not the best choice because it measures performance against standards. Multiple intelligences is different because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Fluid intelligence does not fit because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Question 26. When Jamal notices that a student studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating in a mini-lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, performance goal. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option C, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 27. During a peer study circle, Jamal studies a case where a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which term fits best? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, self-regulation. The correct answer is option B, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Mastery goal is different because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Self-regulation does not fit because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Question 28. In a Bright Review class, Jamal asks why a student chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which answer names the idea? Option A, mastery goal. Option B, avoidance goal. Option C, performance goal. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option A, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Avoidance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as unchangeable. Question 29. After reading that a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart, how should Jamal label the concept? Option A, metacognition. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, performance goal. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option C, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Metacognition is not the best choice because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Mastery goal is different because it centers on improvement and understanding. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Question 30. For a short exam review, Jamal connects a student explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability with which principle? Option A, constructivism. Option B, attribution theory. Option C, information processing theory. Option D, classroom ecology. The correct answer is option B, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Constructivism is not the best choice because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory is different because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Classroom ecology does not fit because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Question 31. Could a case where a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible be an example of which concept for Jamal? Option A, positive transfer. Option B, growth mindset. Option C, learned helplessness. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option C, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Positive transfer is not the best choice because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset is different because it supports belief that ability can improve. Self-efficacy does not fit because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Question 32. Why would Jamal link a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, growth mindset. Option C, entity theory. Option D, external attribution. The correct answer is option B, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. External attribution does not fit because it places causes outside the learner. Question 33. A practice item tells Jamal that a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which concept is most likely? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Bloom taxonomy. Option C, Kohlberg theory. Option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. The correct answer is option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Bloom taxonomy is different because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Kohlberg theory does not fit because it describes moral reasoning development. Question 34. Before answering, Jamal identifies that a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which term should be chosen? Option A, procedural memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option D, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Procedural memory is not the best choice because it stores skills and habits. Sensory memory is different because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory does not fit because it stores information over extended periods. Question 35. Which choice helps Jamal explain why a student recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier in a quick quiz review? Option A, working memory. Option B, long-term memory. Option C, selective attention. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option B, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Working memory is not the best choice because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Selective attention is different because it filters what receives mental focus. Sensory memory does not fit because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Question 36. How can Jamal classify a classroom moment where a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it? Option A, encoding. Option B, extinction. Option C, validity. Option D, retrieval. The correct answer is option A, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens a learned behavior. Validity is different because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Retrieval does not fit because it involves pulling stored information back out. Question 37. Suppose Jamal observes that a student closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which concept is shown? Option A, centration. Option B, massed practice. Option C, retrieval practice. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option C, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Summative assessment does not fit because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Question 38. While reviewing, Jamal sees a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, shaping. Option B, spaced practice. Option C, norming. Option D, massed practice. The correct answer is option B, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming is different because it creates comparison data for a test. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. One interesting clue says a student links a new theory to personal learning experiences. Which educational psychology term fits for Jamal? Option A, extinction. Option B, reliability. Option C, rote rehearsal. Option D, elaboration. The correct answer is option D, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Reliability is different because it refers to consistency of measurement. Rote rehearsal does not fit because it repeats information without adding meaning. Question 40. From this example, where a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories, which answer should Jamal select? Option A, accommodation. Option B, response cost. Option C, chunking. Option D, overlearning. The correct answer is option C, chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes a schema to fit new information. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Overlearning does not fit because it continues practice after initial mastery. Question 41. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, metacognition. Option C, automaticity. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option B, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves learned associations. Automaticity is different because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on external rewards. Question 42. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability. Which principle applies? Option A, extinction. Option B, negative punishment. Option C, transfer of learning. Option D, cognitive dissonance. The correct answer is option C, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Negative punishment is different because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance does not fit because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Question 43. Can Jamal treat a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins as evidence of which concept? Option A, exit ticket. Option B, random assignment. Option C, token economy. Option D, advance organizer. The correct answer is option D, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Exit ticket is not the best choice because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 44. If Jamal must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student uses an existing mental framework about learnings to understand a new teaching method? Option A, rubric. Option B, schema. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, reinforcer. The correct answer is option B, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Rubric is not the best choice because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank is different because it shows relative standing in a group. Reinforcer does not fit because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Question 45. Rather than guessing, Jamal should connect too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a student during a first lesson with which concept? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, reliability. Option C, cognitive load. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option C, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Egocentrism does not fit because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Question 46. Curiosity rises when Jamal reads that students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, maturation. Option B, constructivism. Option C, behaviorism. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option B, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. Behaviorism is different because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Standardization does not fit because it keeps procedures uniform. Question 47. A CLEP-style scenario says students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which answer best captures it for Jamal? Option A, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, inquiry-based learning. The correct answer is option D, inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Fixed ratio reinforcement is not the best choice because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction is different because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to one another. Question 48. Inside a tutoring table, Jamal studies why a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which concept fits? Option A, peer tutoring. Option B, portfolio assessment. Option C, discovery learning. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option D, direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Peer tutoring is not the best choice because it uses students helping students. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work over time. Discovery learning does not fit because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Question 49. Looking at the clue that students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability, which idea should Jamal remember? Option A, cooperative learning. Option B, independent study. Option C, lecture method. Option D, competitive learning. The correct answer is option A, cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Independent study is not the best choice because it relies on solo learning. Lecture method is different because it centers on teacher presentation. Competitive learning does not fit because it ranks students against one another. Question 50. Jamal sees that a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on student readiness during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, random sampling. Option C, standardized instruction. Option D, differentiated instruction. The correct answer is option D, differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates after instruction. Random sampling is different because it selects participants for research. Standardized instruction does not fit because it delivers the same approach to all students. Question 51. When Jamal notices that a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, mastery grading. Option B, accommodation only. Option C, tracking. Option D, universal design for learning. The correct answer is option D, universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Mastery grading is not the best choice because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Accommodation only is different because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. During a final review session, Jamal studies a case where a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which term fits best? Option A, placement test. Option B, formative assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option B, formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Placement test is not the best choice because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to other learners. Summative assessment does not fit because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Question 53. In a learning lab, Jamal asks why a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which answer names the idea? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, diagnostic assessment. Option C, anecdotal record. Option D, formative assessment. The correct answer is option A, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Diagnostic assessment is not the best choice because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. After reading that a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery, how should Jamal label the concept? Option A, informal observation. Option B, criterion-referenced assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, ipsative assessment. The correct answer is option B, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Informal observation is not the best choice because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to a reference group. Ipsative assessment does not fit because it compares a student to their own past performance. Question 55. For a short exam review, Jamal connects a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample with which principle? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, criterion-referenced assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, norm-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option D, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a standard. Authentic assessment does not fit because it uses real-world tasks. Question 56. Could a case where a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly be an example of which concept for Jamal? Option A, bias. Option B, validity. Option C, reliability. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option C, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Bias is not the best choice because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity is different because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. Why would Jamal link a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, inter-rater agreement. Option B, standard error. Option C, validity. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Inter-rater agreement is not the best choice because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Standard error is different because it estimates score uncertainty. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. A practice item tells Jamal that all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which concept is most likely? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, authentic assessment. Option C, informal assessment. Option D, standardized test. The correct answer is option D, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Before answering, Jamal identifies that students design a real learning plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which term should be chosen? Option A, forced choice test. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option D, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Forced choice test is not the best choice because it limits responses to provided options. Standardized assessment is different because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a group. Question 60. Which choice helps Jamal explain why students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy in an online prep session? Option A, rubric. Option B, syllabus. Option C, checklist. Option D, norm table. The correct answer is option A, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Syllabus is not the best choice because it outlines course policies and topics. Checklist is different because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Norm table does not fit because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Question 61. How can Jamal classify a classroom moment where a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Kohlberg stages. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Erikson stages. The correct answer is option C, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Kohlberg stages is different because it describes moral reasoning. Erikson stages does not fit because it describes psychosocial development. Question 62. Suppose Jamal observes that a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which concept is shown? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, rubric. Option C, norming report. Option D, individualized education program. The correct answer is option D, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction, but is not a special education legal document. Rubric is different because it scores performance. Norming report does not fit because it summarizes comparison data. Question 63. While reviewing, Jamal sees a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, standardization. Option B, least restrictive environment. Option C, tracking. Option D, retention. The correct answer is option B, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking is different because it groups students by perceived ability. Retention does not fit because it keeps a student in the same grade. Question 64. One interesting clue says a student gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which educational psychology term fits for Jamal? Option A, acceleration. Option B, punishment. Option C, accommodation. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Acceleration is not the best choice because it moves a learner ahead faster. Punishment is different because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. From this example, where a student completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations, which answer should Jamal select? Option A, universal screening. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option D, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Universal screening is not the best choice because it checks all learners for risk. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation does not fit because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Question 66. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, behavior contract. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, dyslexia support. Option D, dyscalculia support. The correct answer is option C, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Behavior contract is not the best choice because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank is different because it reports relative test standing. Dyscalculia support does not fit because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Question 67. Teachers in a final review session wonder why a student focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines. Which principle applies? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, gifted compacting. Option C, criterion testing. Option D, ADHD classroom support. The correct answer is option D, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli with responses. Gifted compacting is different because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Criterion testing does not fit because it compares performance to standards. Question 68. Can Jamal treat an advanced student skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment as evidence of which concept? Option A, curriculum compacting. Option B, remediation. Option C, retention. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option A, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Remediation is not the best choice because it redirects skills that are not yet mastered. Retention is different because it repeats a grade or course. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Question 69. If Jamal must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds? Option A, culturally responsive teaching. Option B, colorblind teaching. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, ability tracking. The correct answer is option A, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Colorblind teaching is not the best choice because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Standardized testing is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Ability tracking does not fit because it separates students by perceived ability. Question 70. Rather than guessing, Jamal should connect an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge with which concept? Option A, validity evidence. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, reliability. Option D, test bias. The correct answer is option D, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity evidence is not the best choice because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. Curiosity rises when Jamal reads that students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, accommodation. Option B, summative testing. Option C, random reinforcement. Option D, classroom routines. The correct answer is option D, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing is different because it evaluates final achievement. Random reinforcement does not fit because it gives rewards unpredictably. Question 72. A CLEP-style scenario says students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which answer best captures it for Jamal? Option A, token economy. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option A, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Logical consequence is not the best choice because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Classical conditioning is different because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Question 73. Inside a Bright Review class, Jamal studies why a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which concept fits? Option A, extinction. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, unrelated punishment. The correct answer is option B, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Extinction is not the best choice because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Unrelated punishment does not fit because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Question 74. Looking at the clue that a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly, which idea should Jamal remember? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, wait time. Option C, withitness. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option C, withitness. This describes withitness because withitness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it is belief in capability. Wait time is different because it is a pause after asking a question. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary learning support. Question 75. Jamal sees that a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, wait time. Option B, withitness. Option C, response cost. Option D, distributed practice. The correct answer is option A, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Withitness is not the best choice because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. When Jamal notices that a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, recall cue. Option B, open-ended questioning. Option C, closed question. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option B, open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. During a practice test workshop, Jamal studies a case where a teacher tells a student exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which term fits best? Option A, random correction. Option B, effective feedback. Option C, general praise. Option D, summative grade only. The correct answer is option B, effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only does not fit because it reports performance without next steps. Question 78. In a tutoring table, Jamal asks why a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which answer names the idea? Option A, self-regulated learning. Option B, operant conditioning. Option C, object permanence. Option D, social facilitation. The correct answer is option A, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Object permanence is different because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. After reading that students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading, how should Jamal label the concept? Option A, token economy. Option B, random assignment. Option C, reciprocal teaching. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option C, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Direct instruction does not fit because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Question 80. For a short exam review, Jamal connects one student guides another through practice will both receive learning benefits with which principle? Option A, lecture. Option B, tracking. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, portfolio assessment. The correct answer is option C, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Lecture is not the best choice because it is teacher presentation to a group. Tracking is different because it separates students into ability groups. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work samples over time. Question 81. Could a case where a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound be an example of which concept for Jamal? Option A, syntax. Option B, phonics. Option C, morphology. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Syntax is not the best choice because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics is different because it links sounds to printed letters. Morphology does not fit because it studies meaningful word parts. Question 82. Why would Jamal link a student improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, Skinner shaping. Option B, Bandura modeling. Option C, Piaget conservation. Option D, Maslow needs. The correct answer is option B, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Skinner shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Piaget conservation is different because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Maslow needs does not fit because it explains motivation through layered needs. Question 83. A practice item tells Jamal that family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which concept is most likely? Option A, Brenner ecological systems. Option B, information processing. Option C, Kohlberg moral stages. Option D, Erikson psychosocial stages. The correct answer is option A, Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around the child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Kohlberg moral stages is different because it focuses on moral reasoning. Erikson psychosocial stages does not fit because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Question 84. Before answering, Jamal identifies that a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which term should be chosen? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, authoritarian parenting. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, secure attachment. The correct answer is option D, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Authoritarian parenting is different because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Question 85. Which choice helps Jamal explain why two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability in a student coaching session? Option A, criterion validity. Option B, moral reasoning. Option C, self-concept. Option D, temperament. The correct answer is option D, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Criterion validity is not the best choice because it links test scores to an outcome. Moral reasoning is different because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Self-concept does not fit because it is a person's view of self. Question 86. How can Jamal classify a classroom moment where a child says "go" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly? Option A, language overgeneralization. Option B, babbling. Option C, code switching. Option D, telegraphic speech. The correct answer is option A, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Babbling is not the best choice because it is early sound play. Code switching is different because it shifts language varieties based on context. Telegraphic speech does not fit because it uses short two-word phrases. Question 87. Suppose Jamal observes that students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which concept is shown? Option A, aptitude test. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, achievement test. Option D, moral dilemma assessment. The correct answer is option D, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Aptitude test is not the best choice because it predicts future learning potential. Behavior checklist is different because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test does not fit because it measures learned academic content. Question 88. While reviewing, Jamal sees a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, correlational research. Option B, ethnography. Option C, experimental research. Option D, case study. The correct answer is option A, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Ethnography is not the best choice because it studies culture through immersion. Experimental research is different because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Case study does not fit because it examines one person or small group deeply. Question 89. One interesting clue says participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which educational psychology term fits for Jamal? Option A, convenience sampling. Option B, random sampling. Option C, matching. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option D, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Matching does not fit because it pairs participants on key traits. Question 90. From this example, where a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive, which answer should Jamal select? Option A, dependent variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, control variable. Option D, confounding variable. The correct answer is option B, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Dependent variable is not the best choice because it is the measured outcome. Control variable is different because it is held constant. Confounding variable does not fit because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Question 91. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, independent variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, random assignment. Option D, extraneous variable. The correct answer is option B, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Independent variable is not the best choice because it is the factor manipulated. Random assignment is different because it is a grouping procedure. Extraneous variable does not fit because it is an outside influence. Question 92. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy. Which principle applies? Option A, population. Option B, sample. Option C, experimental group. Option D, control group. The correct answer is option D, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. Can Jamal treat a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students as evidence of which concept? Option A, mode. Option B, median. Option C, range. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option D, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Mode is not the best choice because it is the most frequent score. Median is different because it is the middle score. Range does not fit because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Question 94. If Jamal must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average? Option A, mean. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, raw score. The correct answer is option B, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Mean is not the best choice because it gives the average but not spread. Percentile rank is different because it shows relative standing. Raw score does not fit because it is the number of points earned. Question 95. Rather than guessing, Jamal should connect a student's report, says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group with which concept? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, percentage correct. Option C, grade equivalent. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option A, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Percentage correct is not the best choice because it reports items answered correctly. Grade equivalent is different because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 96. Curiosity rises when Jamal reads that students improve partly because they know they are being studied. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, Hawthorne effect. Option B, observer bias. Option C, testing effect. Option D, placebo effect. The correct answer is option A, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Observer bias is not the best choice because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Testing effect is different because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Placebo effect does not fit because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Question 97. A CLEP-style scenario says students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which answer best captures it for Jamal? Option A, maturation threat. Option B, selection bias. Option C, regression to the mean. Option D, instrumentation threat. The correct answer is option A, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Selection bias is not the best choice because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Regression to the mean is different because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Instrumentation threat does not fit because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Question 98. Inside a learning lab, Jamal studies why a researcher records detailed notes about learning interactions instead of only counting scores. Which concept fits? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, random assignment. Option C, qualitative observation. Option D, meta-analysis. The correct answer is option C, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Meta-analysis does not fit because it statistically combines many studies. Question 99. Looking at the clue that a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own learning, which idea should Jamal remember? Option A, longitudinal research. Option B, action research. Option C, laboratory experiment. Option D, survey research. The correct answer is option B, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Laboratory experiment is different because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. Jamal sees that families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, confidentiality. Option B, informed consent. Option C, debriefing. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option B, informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance.